So we are discussing the song John Kanaka. Um, I'm going to just read the lyrics first, and then we'll have a discussion. The song starts, I heard the old man say, John Kanaka Naka Tulaye. Today is a holiday, John Kanaka Naka Tulaye. Tulaye, Tulaye, John Kanaka Naka Tulaye. Um, so the problematic word that we're discussing today is Kanaka. It has its origin in the Hawaiian language, but it was used as a word of self-reference and cultural pride for native Hawaiians of Polynesian descent, as opposed to their colonializing white counterparts in Hawaii. And while it is kind of a word that is used freely in Hawaii by Hawaiians, it's advised not to use it outside of, if you are an outsider. There's a history with Australian people mistaking Melanesian islanders for people of Hawaiian descent and referring to the workers on their ships as Kanakas, which was a derogatory term at the time.
All right, so there's also a bit of ambiguity about the origin of the song. We know that it's a sea shanty, but there's a little bit of ambiguity about how much Polynesian influence is in the song, and different scholars have talked about um, the lyrics and whether those sounds could have come from the Polynesian languages. And so there's consideration whether it may be an adaptation of a song sung by the Pacific Islander sea workers, and where exactly it came from is still kind of unclear.
All right. So reasons why you might not want to include this song in the rep. So as was mentioned, like the origins, it's an exclusively Kanaka is an exclusively Polynesian and Hawaiian term that's used by natives, and it's not necessarily encouraged to be used by outsiders referring to people of Polynesian descent. There's also a lot of misleading translations. So there was a book that talked about translating the word Naka and then Tulaye. And so when you translate John Kanaka, and one translation comes out to be John the Hawaiian sea creature, which is another, just thinking in terms of people, it's not something that generally someone would want to be referred to as. And as was mentioned before, it's historically there's history of Australians using it as a slang term for slaves, which is another reason why you wouldn't want to include it in the repertoire. And there's also just there's other rep that you can look for. There's other repertoire you can look for that wouldn't include the term that would make it more appropriate to use in an elementary classroom.
Kind of jumping on the opposite side of the coin, some reasons for learning and putting John Kanaka into the classroom rep. One of the biggest ones that is just musical fun. It's fun for the kids to get engaged in. It's fun for the kids to kind of pick up on the melody because it's a very simple melody. There's a fun game that's attached to the song that involves just patting out different rhythms with body percussion, and it's easy to learn. It's easy to go through a sequential step that kids can pick up and process on quickly over the course of a couple of weeks of study. Um, Another benefit to presenting it is that it presents the kids a chance to learn about Polynesian repertoire from, admittedly, a very limited canon of repertoire that exists within music education and songs from Polynesian culture. And another big one is that it gives kids the chance to learn a little bit more about Polynesian history, which is something that isn't presented in most traditional contexts in U.S. history courses. So it creates this vehicle for kids to kind of broaden their understanding of world culture and world music a little bit more. But that being said, if there is going to be room to present John Kanaka within the canon, there needs to be a few important points to consider when doing so. One of those points is that it's important to explain the context and the history of the song to the kids so they can better understand where the song is coming from, what the origins were about. Uh, it's the song itself is a vehicle to teach kids about music and cultural appropriation. It's an avenue for which kids can understand how song and its origins can be slowly kind of morphed and changed over time through kind of, God, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank. We're just gonna move on. If you're presenting the song in class, it's probably better to present it as a listening tool more than something that you would present for performance. So, say for example, you have a period on presenting world music and cultural music.